Welcome back to game number 2, where TSM made quick work of Cloud9 Academy Crumbs in game 1 of the Grand Finals, but Cloud9 have a chance to reset, rethink maybe some of their draft, rethink some of their strategy. Again, this should be quite a close series. I think even though Cloud9 are the favorites coming in, did not look like it in game number 1. TSM are very prepared for this matchup.
Yeah, that game 1 out of TSM would shake anybody if you're on C9's side because of how lopsided the regular season matches were. You did not expect this level of preparation and cleanliness out of the TSM lineup. And I want to think more about what Raz is saying. A salty run back out of Cloud9 right now? I don't know, Pastry. That doesn't sit right with me right now. I do share a Lorem sentiment that the champions for the solo lanes out of C9 should have the ability to pressure these CS leads into plates, into a little bit more than just farming and getting into the team fight. It doesn't fit C9 style to go for this. Let's just win when we get to Group S5. They are the kind of team that wants to be in a winning position before that grouping happens.
Yeah, it definitely seems like after watching that matchup, either Fudge or Palafox need something that gives them a little bit more early game power, I think, in the 1v1. Like even the Jace, which was picked blind because they're on the blue side, which you'd expect to beat up just about any top laner. Dokla kind of picked really well with the Wukong and then just kind of rode out the lane again despite getting first blooded. So we are on the same sides here. Certainly we have the opportunity for a run back. Olaf, Caitlyn, and Galio are going to be the first 3 bans here. There's Shen also banned away for TSM, so continuing to take the global champions away from Cloud9. There's an adaptation though. Kalista going to be taken away from Lost.
Good adaptation, although I am a little worried that this is a trend that has persisted 2 games in a row out of C9 where they are banning Caitlyn on blue side. This is already saying we do not play Caitlyn. Every team in the world is red side banning Caitlyn. It almost feels like a must ban if blue side does not touch it. So the fact that C9 does this tells me they're not playing this champion. They don't prioritize it. They don't like playing around the bottom lane, which is why Ashe gets to be a pretty good pick. Good enough to first pick with the utility, with the engage, and the solid laning phase.
Definitely good enough to first pick. I'm curious to see what Lost in Treats want to bring to the 2v2 now that Kalista is not an option. Also, Akali being left over for Evolved. Again, I'm curious if Palafox has a different answer, or if they think there's another way they can potentially approach that champion. Also, Graves was a consideration there for Winston, but he's going to take the set away from Inori instead, and of course, Dokla can play that in top lane as well.
Good value out of the set on red side being flexed all the way to the end. You already know that most likely Evolved is getting this champion.
Ooh.
It might be Fudge getting it. You're oohing at that Lucian, which could go 2 lanes as well, Pastry.
Yep. Yeah, probably not 3, because I'm pretty sure Tomo is going to be on Ashe duty, but certainly could be kind of pick for the Akali for Palafox. Certainly could just be a strong pick for Fudge in the top lane. And there's Gragas as well, probably for the jungle, because they've already drafted 2 AD. But pretty solid first 3 champions for Cloud9, and I do like that they're mixing it up. Again, we basically asked the solo laners from Cloud9 to play something with more agency and more early game, and Lucian fits that bill certainly, as it is going to be Senna the pick here for Lost. So again, sticking with the meta champions here, but this is something that's becoming more and more popular. Ashe, Caitlyn kind of felt untouchable in a lot of 2v2s, but Senna can definitely hang. Her range is pretty long as well, Crumbs.
Absolutely, she can hang. She can be a really good assist to the Akali when she's diving in, both with heals and shields. And the other options that they might have been able to entertain would be the Jins, the Ezreals, but those two feel a lot more specialist than the champions like Senna. You have to really know how to play them. You have to have your team play around those kinds of champions, Jin not being your standard DPS, and Ezreal, of course, being that scaling, pokey kind of champion that takes a lot more time to ramp up. And if TSM wants to be playing about winning the laning phase, these double weak side supports of Morgana and Tahm Kench being banned out just tell me that they're putting even more emphasis on winning this bot lane despite not getting the Kalista.
Yeah, I really like these continued phase 2 bans for TSM, just taking the safety away from Tomo, who they did pick on a little in the last 2v2. Also a Jax ban there for Cloud9, so they feel like Douglas done his research on this patch. You know, 1016 is continuing to deliver surprises, I feel like.
There's 2 champions that I think you pick when you ban out Jax. It's Mordekaiser and Camille. Both of those are the most meta champions right now that have the hardest time against that champ. And at least one of those is something that Fudge has loved to play, the Camille. They could be flexed to the top side. You would be a little heavy on the AD, but I think the Gragas being an AP champion that is so high in burst is okay to have. And that's going to be the case. Yes, both were hovered. Mordekaiser and Camille. I'm recently playing top lane now, Pastry, as my fill has taken me all through Summoner's Rift, and Mordekaiser and Camille are definitely not happy to go against the Jax.
Well, nice pickup there for Fudge, very stable champion. It does seem like Palafox is going to be the person getting the early game attention on this Lucian, looking to get aggressive into the Akali. Also Rakan for Diamond. Kind of cool to see. So still engaged there for Diamond. Certainly, I think picking more for, the roams in the mid game than necessarily the 2v2 win, but I think they feel like they can just kind of relax a little bit and then play out the lane maybe a bit more stably, maybe call a Nori down more often on the Gragas if they do think that Winston is going to continue to stick beside his duo lane. And Renekton left open, and Renekton will be taken for Dokla. I'm actually kind of surprised to see Renekton drop so late into a draft, because Renekton has felt like one of the safest blind pick top lanes you can take right now in this patch. But Dokla's going to go ahead and counter pick them all here.
People love Renekton. Despite him potentially going 0-5 in laning phase, he could still flank your AD carry and just one-shot him. So you're right, the Renekton as a pick is always surprising to see him be forgotten, and being taken as a last pick into the Mordekaiser is not a bad matchup at all. There's a lot of potential for early dives, just like we saw in Nori and Fudge do level 1 in the first game. Winston and Dokla can team up to take down Fudge before he starts itemizing that armor, which is going to be really important for him in the matchup against Renekton and an AD jungler. So there are some windows that TSM can exploit, but I think that right now, Cloud9 have drafted themselves more of what we wanted to see in the first game. So this should be a closer game, and if it's not, then TSM has just come out swinging on another level for finals.
Yeah, very curious to watch, I think, the mid lane here, especially because you'd expect Palafox to be able to bully his 1v1 rather than farm it out this time. Akali, again, not all that good in her early levels, not all that good before Gunblades, so it's going to be up with more of a challenge, especially because Palafox is predictably going Ignite. So certainly has one goal in the 1v1, and that is to punish and bully the Akali for as long as he can. And Fudge on more comfort here with the Maud, certainly a champion that can take over a game. Not so much in the 1v1, but certainly just makes getting objectives so frustrating if the Mordekaiser is ever in range of your jungler. And TSM, with a bit of preparation here, are going to wrap around to try and pinch Fudge here.
Okay, that Pixel Ward might stop the fight on Fudge. Yet it does, and nobody acknowledges the ward and bases for a sweeper. They'll just drop it in plain sight and leave. And the proper response out of C9 and the bot side is Diamond and Tomo sneaking in some wards, one to check out what the rotations look like, and another one at the blue buff, so doubling down on the vision, making sure they know exactly where Winston is up to, if he's going to power farm or if he's going to go blue to red.
It's nice to see both teams with good at level 1 preparation though, both having different invades they are going to run. That ward, as you said though, is going to be swept away. Winston does have that sweeper, so Lost actually going to go ahead and get the extra CS. Always feels good as a laner. And Winston is going to be spotted by Diamond, but not much pressure there at all. Winston just going to go ahead and take his blue after the bit of help. And a Nori solo red start for him. He'll be flying through his right side of the jungle, as both junglers will be pathing up towards the top lane, which is probably a good thing, because Mordekaiser and Renekton could get a little wild in the early levels.
And especially with the TP out of Evolved, if he can have the window, the breathing room to teleport into the top lane, we could see a 3-man happening against the Mordekaiser, and he is one very easy to pick on champion once you start getting those kills flowing your way. I want to talk a little bit about the Gragas though, Pastry, because it's a pick that has been really important in competitive play for a very long time, but as of late did fall off, and it was, I think, the Predator buffs and then a few buffs towards him that, coupled with the rise of heavy AD champions in the solo lane, have made him a really viable pick. His ability to engage, to peel, and offer a ton of burst have made him a very surprising pick back in the meta that only few can play, but you always remember just how powerful a good cast can be, or even just a nice little flash body slam that makes him a good jungler and support.
It's kind of funny to see a champion that's been in the game for so long that did get buffs in like not all that long ago. Take a while to kind of rotate back in. You know, people were talking about Lilia and her value as being so strong because she is one of the few AP junglers that exist. Well, Gragas is kind of the other one alongside ANALYST, and ANALYST ain't that good right now unless you have a very specific game plan. So it's interesting to see Gragas maybe take a little bit of time to get involved, but Inori's certainly competent on this champion. We'll see what he can get done here. As he does take down the left side crab, level 4 already, so nice and efficient on the pathing. Set is kind of slow through the jungle. That's one of Set's traits, whether you like it or not, and that does at least give Evolved a bit of space here in the mid lane. He's currently even on CS, but Palafox is returning with a second Doran's Blade, so I don't think Evolved is going to have all that much fun in the matchup, as he is going to take a recall himself and let Palafox scoop up the incoming wave.
Done a pretty good job thus far, though, keeping up with CS, having no TP expended just yet, and still a potion available for him. So his laning phase on Akali has proven to be pretty effective, despite the first game falling a little bit behind to the Azir, which was expected. I think Azir can be a bigger lane bully than the Lucian is, at least from the range perspective against the Akali. Winston comes in to help shove the wave, and Nori flashing in.
What an interrupt Evolved, though. He's going to flash up, and Palafox going to follow Flash, and that's going to be first blood over the Palafox, and maybe second blood on the horizon as well. Winston is low. He's got the W, but the second shot comes through, and it must have been on cooldown because Winston's going to go down as well.
Did not think that Palafox would have that much burst, but it's that double Doran's Blade in the early laning phase that does so much damage. Both junglers knowing that the mid wave is the most contested place at the moment. Winston uses his stun. This whole combo gets used on the wave, so when Inori jumps Evolved, they have no way out. He's just walking, watching, seeing as his teammate falls down. He's like, okay, does he have enough damage? He sure does, proccing multiple instances of that double tap, and now he's got a spree, he's got buffs, and this Akali is in a world of trouble.
Lost is going to get knocked up there by Diamond, but Creed's going to put up the Unbreakable, and everyone's going to be A-OK. It's going to be a 3v3 perhaps here on the bottom side of the map as the Facebreaker catches Diamond. Inori, though, off to the left near the Krugs, so the bottom lane action will dissolve pretty quickly, and I was surprised to see Winston do what he did there. The positioning made it just seem like he was trying to cover a gank, because he expected, with the wave pushing, that something would happen. But I think that's an instance of, you know, the jungler that moves first often loses that 2v2. And unfortunately for Winston, he did move first.
I think he saw how effective that first move was in game one, where he could just linger in that brush and then jump Diamond and hope to get a kill. But with the champions being so radically different, it's just not going to work on Rakan, who is a really volatile pick. I really like this champion for Diamond because not only can he be a great engage to follow up on the arrow or even Inori, but the peeling aspect of his ultimate is often underlooked. And Akali and a Renekton that jump in get instantly charmed by Rakan, and suddenly they're useless. They're just sitting food for the auto attacks of Palafox, who is just going to be even more fed getting plates. Not going to die with a Hex Drinker against Evolved, so he's going to extend this lead and start to put the Akali deep behind in the CS department.
Yeah, Evolved is just trying to hold on to CS right now, as the plates are going to go over to Palafox. As Winston also spotted out by the hookshot, means that TSM's just going to have to chill out in the midsection of the map for a little while longer. There is still the first dragon up and available here, almost up to the 7-minute mark, so certainly a time as good as any to potentially take that dragon away. Both bot lanes have reset though, so Inori going to go ahead and set things up. Knows that he has the pressure in mid to start this, so that even though there's a control ward in the middle of the pit, Cloud9 should feel pretty comfortable starting this dragon.
And the teleports from the top laners are used in the lane as well, so they'll be happy to know that it's going to be at the very worst a 4-on-4, but with Lucian shoving in the mid lane, it'll be a free first dragon out of C9 with a much different game 2, and all of it stemming from that counter gank that Inori had into the mid lane, which is such a great way of usually deterring a team that's trying to be very assertive. You often want to be proactive, but if you can just, as a jungler, track the opposing jungler's plays and just counter gank every single one of them, you're doing a lot for your team.
Yeah, kind of surprised lost skill shot hit there, but clearly understands the center W hitbox. This lane is going pretty well, but certainly not nearly the amount of advantage they're able to get in their 2v2 in the last game. So Cloud9 doing a much better job containing here as the knock-up is going to land, but Stun's going to come in as well, going to be followed up, but no, Lost must not have had the W or didn't want to take too much damage from Tomo on the other side, so Diamond does get away. Winston here is down already with the ulti, flashing for treats on the Tomo, who does have the flash. He's going to get exhausted though, the stun's going to come in, and there it is. Stun, root, and that's going to be an easy ult back there, and that's going to be such a clean kill. It's Winston that picks it up as TSM once again combine forces to take down a bot laner.
The flashes, the exhaust, the glacial augment, everything used to make sure that Tomo gets set behind. And it's all about getting the bot lane ahead, already having a CS lead. No TP on Ashe to farm again, and seems like TSM's bot lane is still doing a little bit of what they did in Game 1, but a little bit slower thus far. And they're the players that I think a lot of teams are going to be looking at as a potential bottom lane to just ship all the way to to the LCS. Lost in Treats, if they continue to have the showing that they did in Game 1, or at least try to replicate some of that success in a much more tapered degree here, they're looking like one of the better 2v2s that we've got in Academy, if not the best one.
Yeah, I mean, they have the challenge of, you know, both being import players, right, which makes them much less flexible to fit onto a roster, but as far as talent goes, it's pretty undeniable how good they've been this summer, and they're continuing to show that here up against Tomo and Diamond. Dokla also battling Fudge, who's feeling pretty comfy in his 1v1, but it does seem like the top laners have just decided that they are going to go blow for blow in that lane matchup, and Inori has actually largely ignored top lane this series, actually. I mean, you remember the first blood that happened to Dokla in Game 1 and maybe think that, okay, it has been some focus, but I think that's the only time I really remember Inori being top lane so far this series. So Fudge and Dokla are clearly content to just farm it out, at least for now. And there has been more attention to the bottom lane and the mid lane in this game as well. Here is PowerFox still holding that nice lead up against.
He might have struck a deal with Inori. He's like, hey man, you gank my lane level 1, never gank me again. Like, all right, fair. That's what Inori has gone for, and it's not like he has to worry about Fudge versus the Renekton anymore, but a gank in the bottom lane. Here comes Set from the lane.
Bro, man, what a setup in the 2v2, and Winston's going to scoop in the collected. There's Lost getting kill number 1, and it's too late on the party cake for Inori as TSM get yet another 2v2 kill.
Good lane gank there out of Winston. Didn't really have to do a whole lot. So much of it was just Treats and Lost seeing that Ashe was overstepping and really punishing. And in the top side of the map, we have a little bit of a dancing lanes pastry. Dokla is trying to avoid Mordekaiser because the heavy armor is a big problem. And Akali is trying to dodge Lucian because the MR is a problem for him. So if they can match Akali versus Mordekaiser, it's a positive matchup for TSM. And if they can match Renekton versus Lucian, it is possible that Renekton can win this one, but this is the one that I fear the most for Dokla because Lucian, unlike Mordekaiser, has got 2 kills, a fat bounty, and the Cutlass as well to kite out a Renekton.
Feels like a very, like, only happened to Dokla situation, right? Where he finally gets counterpick, you know, he's playing Renekton, he's feeling good, then he gets swapped into the lane where he doesn't have prio and he's got to play weak side again. It's just getting bullied by PowerFox, so looks like they're going to swap it back around here as C9A trying to herald up the mid lane. Looking to get things opened up and get out of that 2v2 that's not going all that well, so Diamond is here as Tomo will join eventually, and this Riptide's going to take just about everything off this mid lane outer, just 3/4 of the last plate left until that tower is theirs.
That was a scary moment out of PowerFox. I kind of flinched there for him because if Winston chose to flash behind him and ult him into the turret, that would have been a dead Lucian right away. With the damage that Akali and the Braum can provide right away, it would have stunned him under the tower and he wouldn't even have the chance to flash out of it. So lucky for them, they can keep the Lucian alive, crash that Herald, and keep playing to these solo lanes that will have to be the AD that doesn't fall behind. It's a great way of looking at it. When you have an AD in the mid lane, your bot lane AD can suffer, but as long as they've got utility, you've got another one in the mid lane.
Yeah, Cloud9 definitely have a bit of insurance with PowerFox's Lucian, who's still working on item number 1, same with Evolve to be fair. Mid lane is going to be finished off as well. Inori just sticking around long enough to make sure the mid outer falls, and once again, Dokla can't contest 1v1 versus Lucian all that easily, so certainly not 2v1 either, as TSM will lose their first tower, and bottom lane is starting to get a bit more attention because Cloud9 have decided that grouping is much more fun than losing the 2v2s or 3v2s that TSM keep throwing down at the bottom side of the map. Also, there's a dragon up, so teams are looking to position to fight for it.
Now watch for Fudge. He's got flash. He can make a big play there with his ultimate. That's what bringing him down can do, whether it's securing the jungle smite or trying to ult the Senna and just pick on her in the fight. The Mordekaiser can pick apart TSM Cup, who's already going in on the Mordekaiser.
Oh, Evolve, they're going to try something here, and again, Fudge with the ulti could make this a bit tricky. Evolve is trying to kite it out. He's dancing away. He's in the Death Realm. Does flash, but Fudge is going to finish him off as Dokla almost gets Sonori, but not enough as Loft's going to let the ulti rip now as he entreats it, trying to fight off the rest of Cloud9. The root does land in, but Winston has been preoccupied, and Cloud9, they'll take 3 clean kills as they only lose Sonori in the process.
They are so happy with that one, and Evolve just willingly jumped into Fudge's arms to go down. It was unfortunate for him that Tomo's arrow connected right when he goes in, so that he finds himself in the Death Realm, stunned against the Mordekaiser that's got all his abilities fully charged up. So an engage from TSM that I think could have been thought otherwise, but they are double TPing into this bottom and continuing the punishment. Here
comes Evolve. They're looking to try and take out Diamond, but Tomo may be a juicier target. He's going to flash away. Dokla going to stun him up, and that's going to be kill number 1. Diamond now going to be in trouble. Facebreaker ready to go, but into the waiting arms of Lost Entreats he goes, and Lost will happily collect his soul.
I think we have a trend in this series, Pastry. It is just pick on bottom lane relentlessly out of TSM, and it seems like TSM's bottom, or C9's bottom lane is not doing the greatest job at respecting what TSM can do. But let's see how this starts again, because Evolve lands his E on the Mordekaiser, sees the opportunity to go in, unfortunately gets hit by the arrow, is already in the Death Realm, and so C9 and the bot lane just have to back away, while in the top side, Palafox and Inori 1v2 Dokla.
Yeah, and then once the fight breaks out, not a whole lot the rest of TSM can do. Lost especially. It's not a fight. He's going to scoop in and win 1v4. Cloud9 get the Drake, and then this happens because Tomo decides that he wants to hit the tower a little bit.
The plates were, I think, about to go down, so he really wanted to cash in that extra gold at the time. But at this point, the Ashe is not actually going to miss out on the wave because it's going to bounce back after it crashes into the turret. So it's not the end of the world for her, still having the utility that you expect from this pick, and not losing that turret either. So the bot lanes are just swapping sides, and we'll just have a regular trade, turret for turret, but C9 gets a Herald as well.
They're kind of thinking about that last exchange, so it's, I feel like one of the things that makes Mordekaiser so powerful, right? It's like he's in a literal 1v4 based on positioning of champions, and then just turned it into a 1v1 that Evolve unfortunately lost after he got clipped by the arrow. So any other champion on Cloud9's team would have been instantly killed by Evolve diving in, but unfortunately he picked the only wrong one, and Fudge was able to sort that out as Cloud9 do keep their gold lead up. They're 1,000 gold ahead right now. Not a massive gold lead, but certainly one they'll be happy with, especially given how quickly the game got away from them in game number 1.
And where the gold is distributed to, the Lucian having so much of the gold is exceptional here. It's the strongest duelist, the most mobile champion that they have right now, and it's not like Lucian really is going to fall off against these kinds of picks. He's going to be able to dish out a ton of damage. Is not going to be outranged except for the Senna. So as long as Palafox is really good with his dashes, is mechanically sound here, he will be very well positioned to deal with the diving of TSM. So the Lucian is ready to carry, and a champion like Mordekaiser, like you said, that can walk into a 1v4, if he gets a little bit stronger where he has the confidence and the vision to walk up against the Akali, you now have 2 lanes that are playing side lanes that can not only win their 1v1 matchups, but potentially outplay 1v2s and more.
Alright, well, TSM still looking to try and figure out what they want to do in this mid game. They're likely going to fight for this third dragon here, because putting your opponent on soul point this early on never feels all that fun. See if they have the resources to do just that in a minute and 20 seconds time. Lost is still pretty strong. Again, his individual lead is pretty nice, although Palafox is better, as we mentioned. TSM just trying to retake a little bit of vision, try and get their Akali into the side lane.
Oh.
Get Dokla getting aggressive. Perhaps he does go over the wall, but Gonna slice back over there as Palafox is able to pop play to the Ruined King and keep the Crocodile at bay.
Random Crocodile in the pit, flush him out right away, just like in Florida. I mean, it happens. I've seen the videos. Crocodiles show up from within the toilet, and you're never safe.
That's true.
If things show up from your toilet, there's always danger.
I think that's like a relatively good summary of like Renekton's power, especially with this kind of build. Like, if he gets, you know, into your domicile, or I guess in your backline in this analogy, he causes so much havoc. You know, getting in can be tricky sometimes for Renekton, but he's able to like flash on a carry or just run around with Dominus ticking away. It's an absolute nightmare to deal with the Croc. So we'll see if Dokla can indeed be effective. We have seen a number of Renektons, though, still able to team fight their way to victory, despite being a champion that is often not known for his strong team fight prowess. But I think Renekton's got a lot of bad press over the years. Dragon, though, is still the objective. Rift Herald is dead, and TSM to take the 5v4. But goodbye, Crocodile. Palafox is on a rampage.
This Crocodile was not scary at all. They very quickly flushed them back to the gray screen, and a free Dragon out of Cloud9 here. It felt like TSM really was thinking about how to position for a flank because Akali was coming in from the right. Renekton wasn't going through the mid lane. He was going through the little side of mid and just gets popped right away. So a free Dragon out of C9 that would have been the one that they would love to fight.
Offered up and taken out. Not yet, actually. Good coverage there from Winston, but he might just die instead. Root is going to land the diamond there, but C9 are going to keep chasing. Palafox is going to dash in. Winston's seen this movie before, decided he didn't really like it the last time he died under mid tower. So he's going to go back to the safety of the brush and be A-OK for this little encounter. Still Cloud9 up about 2,000 gold, actually 3,000 gold now. So starting to grow that lead even more. Palafox has 4 kills. He's worth a lot of extra gold if they can kill him. And as Zhonya's completed for Honora, he's going to make his playmaking that much better. Can kind of dive in with reckless abandon at this point.
Dive in and do a ton of peeling there, because as long as TSM is picking on Lucian, C9 is going to win these fights. Lucian is just too strong. They need to be going on Ashe, looking for Tomo. If they can get that quick elimination before any of them go down, these team fights will look a lot better. And a large part of why it's so difficult to dive the Lucian is that no one is really building defensive stats at the moment. You have a Renekton with Tab Eyes, you've got Akali that only has a stopwatch, and it's just now that Winston is able to get some major armor items. So the Lucian is just capable of bursting people down too quickly, and we're going to see how he does it against Dokla. Yeah,
Dokla again without any sort of real health there is just going to get taken out by Inori, who stole that kill. But a kill nonetheless here. Cloud9 also will extend their invade to this red buff. Lost says, thanks for the leash. See you later.
Very clever little auto attack there out of the Senna, who just salvages something out of the red side control that C9 is putting in, because that death on the Renekton is going to be felt in all the vision that is now scattered throughout this red side. And they have to clear this out, or else a Baron could be threatened eventually. And with the Dragon coming up in 3 minutes, they have a lot of time to go for it. But if they don't push this out quickly, a fight that breaks out around Dragon, which is likely to happen before the Dragon even begins, as most team fights do, could just lead into a Baron for C9 if they win it. So this next fight, post 20 minutes, can be really big for C9, but it's also an opportunity for TSM to win it. They don't have quite the items necessary to take down all of C9, but if they can have the right flank, pick on those carries, not get Mordekaiser ultimate, fight win, gives you the same benefits that a fight for C9 does with the Baron and with those major objectives.
Yeah, very similar to how the last game went, actually, where TSM weren't able to snowball the Soul Dragon 4 in a row, but took the Baron after winning the team fight despite Cloud9 getting a Dragon. So pretty similar feeling position here. We'll see if the game ends the same way. Palafox is continuing to make new goods for himself in the top side. I think he's got like a pair of shoes. Now he's going to maybe make a handbag. But Dokla is going to try and stay out of the way.
This
is one of the problems with Renekton, by the way. Like, this build, especially before you have Black Cleaver Death Stance, like, you're just so squishy. So if you get caught, especially if you don't control the map, and you know, you're not sitting in your little 1v1 all happy and winning, you just get kind of farmed. for a little bit. And that's what Powerfox is looking to do here, hunting in the top side.
Perpetually on weak side is Doko, like he said.
Yep.
No matter what happens.
Even on Renekton.
Right? Nothing he can do will take him away from weak side, so he'll embody it. He'll play it well. He's learned his lesson a few times. That Lucian is very scary right now with the Essence Reaper completed and a minute on the Drake. So the shops are coming in. Lucian crashing a final wave. Let's see if the Black Cleaver is completed out of the Crocodile. It is not. TSM behind in the itemization department compared to C9. And it's an Ocean Drake. They really have to take this fight, and it's looking good terrain-wise to have that scuttle, but they need to make sure that the setup is impeccable to make up for the item discrepancy.
Yeah, certainly a lot of work to do here. I think Lost is going to have to carry a lot of the initial stages of the fight, kind of poking people out, healing up his teammates. Also, Evolved could maybe find an angle, but with Mordekaiser in the mix, it seems pretty tricky. TSM going to try and go early now, though. Diamond going to be the first target, but Treats is just taking a beating already. He's dead to Fudge despite the flash. And now it's going to be a 5v4. C9 looking in there, but a good ult from center. It's going to keep Evolve alive for a little while longer. Winston with the ulti. But Evolved is trying to find the angle and just doesn't have it. Oh, gets tagged as well. Powerfox wants blood. Good flash from Evolved to keep himself safe, but that's all he's going to be, as Diamond maybe going to hunt him down, and TSM are going to lose this Soul Dragon.
And TSM wasn't actually ready to take that fight. It was the hawk shot from Tomo that revealed the position out of everybody, and TSM just went, well, the gig is up. It's time to fight. They know where we're at. This is the best chance we're going to get. They pull the trigger, but it is not the case. They are going to lose the Dragon. They're going to lose the Baron, and it looks like we're just going to be trading 1-for-1 at the start of this series, Pacey, because this looks like a game that is classic C9, all split long, winning the lane, winning the game.
Diamond may be caught here, but he's pretty mobile on the Rakan. He's going to get tagged, but doesn't mean that much. Rule actually does continue the CC chain. The Baron is up and available, but they don't have a smite. Just take it, and Nori going to be able to take that one off the map nice and cleanly, and Cloud9 will get away with the Baron without losing anyone.
So let's see how it breaks out, because TSM reveals their Scryers, and then Hawkshot's like, oh, okay, everybody's here. TSM goes right away, and then Fudge pulls in Winston, so he can't participate in these engages anymore. Flash keeps the Senna away, and when the frontliners are doing all the tanking for the hyper carries that C9 has at this moment, it is all too easy for them. There's nobody to tank out the Lucian. They just get deleted. He's got no problems flashing face first into an Akali.
X-Flash here. Oh, Tomo just shuts it down. Treats cannot get in there. Good charm, though, from Diamond to disengage the fight. TSM desperately looking for a pick here, but now Inori going to cast them back. It's Winston that's going to be picked off here. Treats also pretty low, but make it one kill, and Inori, they're going to try and chase him now, but Powerfox going to turn it around. What a body slam out of the Gragas, as Dokla is going to be dancing around to try and get one kill, but he's not going to get anything. It'll be the ace, and likely the game for Cloud9 is a clean house down in the river.
Great play out of Inori. This is why Gragas is back in the meta. Tons of damage, great displacement, and gets to isolate individual members that step up a little bit too far. I think you're right, Pacer. They definitely have everything they need to end this game here. Double ADs, all alive and well, and what a recovery from game one out of C9.
Yeah, got a minute and a half left on Baron. This game is absolutely done. Chalk it up on the scoreboard, because it's Cloud9 going to make it a series, tying it up 1-1 here in the Academy Summer 2020 Grand Finals.
This is exactly how you want a series to start off, actually. You got one team stomping, the other one stomps, then the third game both meet in the middle to a very close match. So I'm fully expecting this third game to really deliver in the quality of both teams going neck and neck and having team fights decide it all.
It's funny that, like, again, we talked about Gragas in that game being a champion that for some reason, like, has been around for so long, but sometimes takes a while to come back into the rotation. The buffs to Gragas were, like, making his AP ratios a little bit better, which I think is maybe more impactful than you'd think, because you probably should be building Gragas that way anyway. And Inori showing off that with that extra AP, with a little bit of buffs to the ratios, very easy for him to take that last team fight there. So just effective all around. I think Powerfox handled the Akali matchup much better this time. I don't think Evolved actually did all that badly. It's just that the impact Powerfox was able to have in that game while having a matchup where he could take something as greedy and as aggressive as Lucian paid off a lot more. So I think TSM now have to think, okay, like, we can take Akali, but should we take Akali? Because Powerfox is showing that, hey, I got some picks here if you want to keep blending that champion.
Exactly. The Akali is now getting punished, but I don't know how different that game would have looked if it wasn't for Inori's early play in the mid lane. Not only that play, but then the casks right after. So a really great series thus far out of him. The set game was also pretty impressive to set up his team. So I think that both teams have members that are firing on all cylinders, and I can't wait to see what they deduce was the problem in Game 3 and adapt their drafts moving forward.
Yeah, it seems like so far so good for both teams. We now have a series on our hands. We are stepping away, but after the break, the State Farm Analyst Desk will break down that game.
And we're back. With the series, it's all tied up 1-1 after C9 strikes back in Game 2. They do it from the blue side. Raz, you were saying maybe we'd get the run back. We got the run back in side choice, but not quite in team comp.
Do I get half marks? Do I get partial marks? What do you think?
No, 0 marks.
Oh
Wait,
my
but
God.
I get
look,
some
if
marks.
the marks on the desk doesn't want to give you any marks, then I guess you get no marks.
Boo,
Alorim,
boo, I don't like that.
All right, shut up. Alorim, you were the one who wanted playmakers in the solo lanes for the side of Cloud9. I'd say you got it with the Lucian.
So with the run back on blue side, I think C9 was like, all right, now we know what we need to do. And they gave Palafox the Lucian instead of the Azir. Evolved had the Akali again. And look at what happened. Palafox got his lead that I'm talking about, and he just dominated the rest of the game. I knew it. Sign me up.
There was still the bot gap a little bit, though, and this is something that TSM's going to have to deal with, or excuse me, C9's going to have to deal with over the course of this series, is that TSM's bot lane is playing phenomenally. They had good gank set up here to get the first kill, and then they repeat ganked it before the flashes were up a second time, just with a hard brute force lane gank, and I think this is what makes them so scary, is like punishing these openings when they present themselves.
Yeah, like, think of it this way. If the game wasn't so doomed off the 2v2 through mid, TSM's in it. Like, legitimately, a lot of the plays that happened after that fact, like 13 minutes into the dragon fight, all these things, I actually thought that TSM got good positioning based off of the bot lane advantage, but then Lucian was just so far ahead. Look at that!
Difference. 2,000. My guy's carrying bands in his pocket.
I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's not just the gold, right? It's one of those big benefits of being a mid laner. You can see it right there at 15 minutes. 2-level advantage for that Lucian as well. It's what gives him just total agency to run across the map. He was even solo killing a Renekton, basically.
Well, yeah, that's where I was going to go with it, is like when the Senna's ahead, you put her mid, and she tries to control the map a little bit. When the Lucian gets ahead, you put him in a side lane, and literally 0 people on the map can fight him.
Alarum.
And that's the danger of a snowballing solo laner, is that nothing ends up stacking up against them 1v1.
What is it, Raz?
What's the stronger diff? Which one's stronger?
Seems like the bigger diff is in the mid lane.
Is it? Is it? Are we chalking that up to, that's it? We're calling it in favor of Cloud9 in the mid lane?
Wait,
or
but was it
does
mid-diff?
Evolve to have options? Because, yeah, you're right. The junglers were involved there. Is it even mid diff?
There was jung diff too, right? We saw Winston used his E and set W on the wave. They clearly wanted to push that out fast. And out came Inori. He just got the E flash, and Evolve didn't flash it in time, so he took all that damage. And maybe it was jung diff the whole time.
Like, the specifics of how tragic that situation was, because Lucian comes back into the lane matchup and hashtags Drinker. Like, you can make the debate of, like, shouldn't you just go into your core, into your Blade of the Ring King, or if you're just sticking with... But either way, Akali is sad. They even tried, like, aggressively swapping the matchup so Renekton can go into the Lucian and then swap Akali topside so she can live. But then, even then, they were still swapping Lucian top lane. And the point that I had talked about, like the dragon fight, conceptually, I thought TSM was doing well in that. Like, they had bot lane pushed out, shoved out well. They had Renekton, like, group up with the team at the right time, so they could group. They were clumped. But the problem was, Lucian just bursted the Renekton on his own. I mean, he did have set there, but the majority of the damage was Lucian, and he was just a demon in this game. So it was just too tough based off that alone.
Yeah, we mentioned that while TSM's bot lane was getting some stuff done, it was just too much an insurmountable lead, even though TSM was still taking their proper stabs at it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just when the Lucian's this far ahead. This is after he's got a couple of those solo kills we were referencing. Yep. The game needs to become basically kill the Lucian if you have any hopes of winning, but the people who would do it are the ones who are shut down, like the Akali and Renekton, and then he gets to kind of chase through this team fight. And Lost is doing his best to try and break out that front line, but just too far behind at this point in the game. And this makes it really interesting to me where they go from here.
It's a good question, right? We do know that TSM is going to stick to red side, as you can see the explosion of the gold graph there and the damage coming out of Lucian in the mid lane. 16k to just 4k on his lane opponent's side of the map. But TSM will stick to red side, so 3 games in a row now. These teams are playing from the same sides of the map, but that means that TSM still thinks they have answers here from red. So what are our thoughts on what that might be?
I think I'm looking at the Akali pick and maybe dropping some priority on it a little bit. I mean, you then have to worry about if Palafox is going to play it and whatnot, but that scared me enough that I'm like, ooh, do I want to be early picking my mid if Palafox is going to not go for just the scalers and start going for lane bullies? That's definitely what was the biggest change, at least for me, from game 1 to game 2.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the problem with the early picking Akali is that what the Lucian was conceptually trying to do in draft was it was just going to follow the Akali. If it was going to be Akali top lane, they probably would have done that. Of course, it was smart for TSM side to hide it until like 5 pick where the Akali was going to go. But the reality is, like, it's going to be a Lucian versus the Akali in the mid lane. And that in and of itself is pretty tough, so I think that should be the difference.
Lorem, I appreciate that these two guys have opinions, but let's be honest, you're the one who called the solution for game 2.
Right.
So really, what are your thoughts here on the pivot for TSM?
I think I've seen enough of Akali evolved. I like that he was bringing it out in the first 2 games because Akali, I think, is a great pick right now. But if C9 has the option to flex Lucian into top and mid, which they can, I've seen Fudge play Lucian before, and they can follow it wherever it goes. I'd like to see Cat Evolved blind something a little less risky now that we know the Lucian can come out. I guess I'd like to see his Orianna.
It's the Orianna!
There we go! I was so hyped about.
You're
Show
a
me the
believer.
Orianna.
Say it. You're a believer in the Orianna.
I'd like to see something different. I'm not a believer quite yet.
All right. Well, there you go. Let's see what the teams decide to bring out in Game 3 of the series, because Cloud9 have tied it up as we head into a short break. But before we go, Evolve did give us some insight about the start of his career.
I started playing League in around 2015 in middle school when I was 13 years old. I met a friend and we made a montage together. And that montage blew up, basically got 1 million views, and I just remember that as the thing that started my career. I started streaming, and I one-tricked Katarina until Challenger. I transitioned that into playing an amateur for an entire year, led to scouting rounds, finished first place, got drafted by Evil Geniuses, eventually got picked up by TSM Academy. All I'm doing is sacrificing streaming time to play in Academy, but I'd say it's a good sacrifice. I'd say it's worth it. The first challenge for me was actually learning other champions. It took me about 6 months to actually learn a lot of the other mid laners before I could play at a challenge level as well. And the next big challenge is to prove to the teams that I'm better than their current mid laners. This finals is an opportunity for me to show to all the LCS teams that I am ready. I'm ready to play LCS.